Okay, so these guys are gonna be pulling out the combine. It's a little soft through here, so I'm gonna just gonna film this. This will be cool, actually. We're here with Russell. He's what? We're combining
corn.
How many acres? How many acres is this field?
This field's a total of 74 acres.
74 acres, and it's running 16, 17?
17.5%. Got a 232 average, 232 bushel average. What I'm doing now, the river's been on it a couple of times, been up in it, but it hasn't really gotten into the ears. It's been a bad year. Corn stalks are weak, so the corn's falling over, and rotten stalks making really dusty corn. It's been a good year for yields.
Yeah.
And this farm has never been a great yielder. This is by far the best yield it's ever had.
Ooh.
So.
New combine too, right?
Yep. Yep.
S660?
It's a S660. Yeah. Wow. I got a 12-row head on it, which is bigger than I wanted.
So it fills up way too fast.
Yep. It's what happened. I'm gonna go to a bigger planter.
Oh, okay.
And
how big a planter do you have right now?
I've got a 12-row.
12-row, I
yeah.
gotcha.
So it's a 30-foot planter. I'm gonna go to it's a 24-row, 20-inch planter, which is the same as a 16-inch or 16-row planter. I didn't get the planter traded last fall. I thought I could find a good used one, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
So I ended up, I had the combine bought. 6-row head won't fit on it. So I had to get a 12-row head this year to pick my 12-row planter.
Oh, wow.
And now I've got a deal made where I'll trade this head off for the head for the 20-inch planter for next year. I've got Green Star display.
Auto steer?
Yes. Down there.
I was going to say those sensor,
little
right?
feelers, those will guide you on the row. I've never used them before until this year. And I'm really impressed down here where the river's been on it.
Yeah.
That it's still yielding. I just can't believe it. Okay, I just got a couple of short passes here. I couldn't make it back to the end, so we'll pick all the dust. Ooh. That's from the water being up in it, dirt from the river, and then the stalks are rotting, and that's from the rotting stalks, light. Now you can see how the corn is down here.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of that is because of, let's see, my steering went off. There, now it's steering itself. The reason the stalks are so weak is because we were real dry this summer, and the corn has been bred that it will do everything it can to produce yield. And because we were dry, lack of moisture, the corn will suck all the nutrients out of the stalk and start to cannibalize the stalk. And then the stalk gets weak and will go over in wind and rain.
Okay.
So if the corn hadn't yielded so well, the corn would be standing straight. The reason it's down is because it cannibalized itself to put all the energy it could and all the nutrients into creating corn, creating product.
So what's your planter tractor? 8R?
No, it's not. It's an 8130 John Deere. I don't have any 8Rs. They come out with the 8Rs right after I bought, well, our track tractor. It's an 8430. They came out with the R series the very year after I bought that tractor. The 8130 is about a 185 horse tractor, and it handles the planter really well. It's my favorite tractor.
Even this new 24-row?
Yeah. Yeah. Usually full throttle is about 2,300 RPM, and I would set the throttle at 1,600 and then just drive faster. It just didn't take any power to pull it. So even if I have to throttle up a little bit and shift down, I'll still have plenty of power to pull this planter. Yeah.
Do you like having tracks out here then? Probably with the hills, it's nice. Oh, there's a rabbit.
Yeah, for 3 years I swore I was going to have tracks on the grain cart, and I haven't bought one, but next year I will.
Really?
and we've been stuck with it several times.
Are you gonna go any bigger on green cart?
That's 1,000 bushel. I'd like to go to 1,100.
Mm.
Yep. So that I don't have to pile it quite so full to fill the semi.
Yeah.
And I think the tracks, what I want to do is move away from compaction.
Oh, okay.
And that's the whole idea of the tracks, is to get away from compaction. And this might be the last, well, we'll probably unload one more, but I've got 2 loads of corn that has to go to town yet. And the corn that's left in the field is running 14.5% moisture, so I can take it straight to town and not get a dock on it.
You guys, you gonna plant a cover crop at all?
No, I've planted cover crop a couple of times. I just think, depending on the fall, I think we're a little too far north.
I gotcha.
I don't think we get enough time for the cover crop to get up before the winter. If you've got cattle and you're planning on grazing it or chopping it off in the spring, I think it works, but you got to kill it, and it just seems like you don't get much growth on it, and in the spring we're trying to kill it. I just don't think it's paying a whole lot in this area.
Yeah.
I think if you went down to the Missouri border, I think they'd probably get along great. If I had somebody that could run right behind me and plant it, I think it'd be great, but if I've got to get the crop out and then plant the cover crop, I'll never get it in time.
So 2007, 2008, you heard a lot of ethanol plants. This ethanol thing started coming in.
Yep.
Did you just get excited right away knowing that corn was gonna go crazy?
I wasn't quite sure what was gonna happen. Everybody said, oh, it's gonna be wonderful. You never know. Is it a bunch of hype?
Yeah.
Most of the ethanol plants stayed north of Interstate 80.
Oh, okay.
Because they just didn't have much of a market up there. Now, we've got a great market down here with Cargill.
Okay.
And in fact, a lot of people up from Ames, Nevada, they shipped their corn all the way down to Eddyville because the markets were so much better down here than they were up there.
Wow.
So the ethanol plants were a big boom for northern Iowa because they just didn't have much of a market. You either had to go to the Missouri River or the Mississippi River to get shipped out.
I was gonna say, my professor, Econ 101, we went over this and he showed how he knew corn prices were gonna go, you know, kind of close to this range, close to $6-7 or whatever. And he went out and bought some farm ground right before that when he just heard all this ethanol stuff. And
well, he did good.
Were there people? Were there people doing that around here? Or probably up north, I should say. More.
Yeah, no.
Not around here.
Around here, land was going up at that time, and it was being bought by farmers. People keep talking about speculators and investors and all that. I don't know of any ground bought around here that wasn't bought by a local farmer. So now I'm sure there are a few farms around, but when it comes to land, productive land, it's all being bought by farmers. There's some timber ground, things like that are being bought by investors who are buying it for a weekend getaway, a place to go hunting, things like that. But when it comes to actual productivity and land, it's being bought by the farmers. Because it's my neighbors, I just cannot figure out how they can afford to pay all this money for land. And now I'm listening to them talk about how this is horrible, we're losing so much money, we need more help, you know, they need to get the price of this grain up. Well, you overbid the land and you overbid the rent. So, you know, everybody knew it wasn't going to stay as high as it was.
So you've seen land prices drop now?
Actually, no, they have not. And I just cannot believe it.
Farmers have so much cash from the good years.
I think there's still a lot of money out there from the good years they're hanging on to. I thought 3 years ago it would have been dropping, and it's not. You listen to the reports on the radio and they'll say, oh, it dropped the first 6 months, but then it went up the second 6 months, and for the year it's up another 7%.
Wow.
And I don't understand how it could be going up.
So it's cash, farmers have cash in hopes that it's going to go back to that crazy.
And what they're doing, farmers who had bought land when it was cheap, you know, say they spent $2,000 an acre, now it's worth $8,000 an acre. You know, because they don't have a lot of money tied up in it, and they bought a lot of acres. They're still making money, and they're looking for a place to invest that money. and even interest rates. You know, you could borrow money for 4% to buy land. Well, if you figured it out, if you could put, you know, 25% down or 30% down, the interest on the money you were paying was cheaper than what people were paying for cash rent.
Wow.
So it actually panned out a little bit right there, as long
Makes
as
sense.
cash rents didn't drop, which I'm surprised they've dropped a little, but not as much as I think they should have.
What do you see 20 years from now? Do you see you sitting in a shed operating all your equipment?
I can
Send
see
the grain cart to the combine
I
right now.
can see it happening. I can see it happening. You know, I mean, a lot of people talk about it, and I think, oh, 20 years, I don't know. But you know, things have changed a lot in 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's made huge changes. I can see it happening.
Think it's gonna be wet?
Well, I know there's some areas that are low and the water got up into some corn. There's gonna be areas that might be drowned out. There's gonna be some areas that I've got a whole bunch of trash washed up in the outside rows. I'm gonna have to raise up to go over the top of it. Wow. It's gonna be real dirty already this fall, but I'm gonna have to go back and fix. I'm on the right row. Hope so. That's the other thing I don't like about this 12-row head. I'm having
It's tough.
a hard time lining my rows up. I'm just not used to it.
What's it yielding right now?
It's going to take a little bit because it's a little bit behind, but it's going up 230, 250, 259. So it's running between 250, 260 right here. I've been up here, but if you look on the outside, you can see all that grass laying there. The river had to come up here and put some grass out there.
Yeah. So how high was the water?
Oh, it was 6-7 feet deep out there at the bottom.
Oh, wow.
Yep. We picked up a
Rock?
A stick of some sort. We're slipping the feeder house chain. Must have something really stuck in there. Usually it'll back out.
Ooh. See that?
There, it came loose.
What was that?
And it's probably a chunk of wood. It'll come out in front of us. Oh, I think it just kicked back around. There it is. See that piece of wood right there? So I'm going to have to get out, and I'm going to throw it outside and look and make sure there's nothing else there, because that doesn't even look big enough to stop it. Yeah, it's a hard piece of wood.
What's the craziest thing you've got through it? You probably don't want to say it's probably ruined the combine, right?
No, we've put several rocks through it. Actually, not through this one, but through the other one. Probably the worst thing I ever had, I was doing beans, and there'd been a big oak tree alongside the field, and it blew over, and the neighbor came and cut it up for firewood, and then we went out to clean up what was left, and apparently some pieces were stuck in the ground we didn't know about when the tree blew over, and we went through and killed the ground up. We pulled the pieces back up. And in the fall, I was combining beans, and at the last second I saw a big chunk of wood laying in front of me, and I didn't get stopped in time, and it went into the front of the combine. And it got stuck in the front of the combine, and I couldn't back it out. And we ended up having to take a chainsaw and try cutting it. We had to take it out in pieces with the chainsaw because it was wedged in so tight we couldn't get it out.
Yeah. Is that the first case you've had?
I had a case combine for 30 years.
Oh, so you...
In 1978, I traded a combine, got the International Axial Flow Rotor Combine.
Oh, okay.
And had that for 30 years before John Deere finally came out with their rotor combine, and then switched to John Deere. And I don't know, I thought about going back to Case. I think they make a really good combine.
Yeah.
John Deere is a little bit nicer, but I still think Case makes a nice combine.
So we're going to look at a baby elk of Russell, the farmer you guys saw and stuff, and they have this whole elk herd and stuff out here in southern Iowa. Like probably the only one around, I bet. But we're gonna go pet it and stuff. It's a baby bottle-fed elk. It'll be pretty cool. It'll be interesting.
Come on, here. Come on. There's a lot of people here. Come on. Afraid of other elk than he is people. Yeah. And so I had to tranquilize her to put her down, and then I pulled him out. I thought he'd be dead, and I thought he was dead when I pulled him out. Then I saw his. He's done a lot of this. Yeah. I mean, we were feeding him 4 times a day.